But that's one thing that we didn't want to see. We didn't want to see that slow start after the 3 weeks that we were worried about. And that was, in fact, I mean, that's a consequence when you haven't played football in weeks. But one of the other things that we really don't like to see is the picture of Liam Eichenberg's eye after he got poked.
That.
Yeah.
See, yeah.
Is the picture of Liam Eichenberg's eye after he got poked. Lev had some trouble seeing. He told the media this week that he couldn't get his contact back in for a while, and that was the hardest part. He had to go back in the locker room to do that, which obviously anytime a guy goes into the locker room, a bit concerning. So just a contact issue. And then he said he could see fine, but when you looked at the picture of the eye, it didn't really look like that. So that got Chris thinking about some things that maybe he's taken for granted before on this team. And if you know Chris, you know that Chris likes to insert a little bit of comedy into our Shamrock Sports shows here. So we're going to give him the chance to do that. What else have you taken for granted, Chris, about this Notre Dame team?
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, the comedy aspect. But here's the thing. I looked at the before and after picture of Liam Eichenberg with the black eye versus without the black eye, and I noticed that for the first time that he has the most beautiful blue eyes in the world. So what I have taken for granted is Liam Eichenberg. We all miss being able to see both of your baby blue eyes. Even when beaches across the country were closed during the pandemic, we could still go swimming in your eyes. Now, one of those eyes has the equivalent of an oil spill, and it's horrible. Lake Eichenberg is closed for the next few weeks, and we will miss it. So, Liam Eichenberg, I am sorry for taking your eyes for granted.
What if he was just in Duncan for this? I just wonder what he would think about that performance, Chris. But another thing that we took for granted is Sean Crawford, who has spent 6 years in this program. In those 6 years, he's endured multiple ACL tears, multiple other injuries, and still came back in the middle of the pandemic for his 6th year. And 6 years ago, I couldn't even drive yet.
Well, Caroline, 6 years ago, I couldn't even walk yet, so that's pretty cool. Another thing that we have taken for granted as Notre Dame football goes, Chris Fink. Chris Fink, we miss your 5-yard out routes and getting more playing time than more talented, fun-to-watch players. But, you know, last week against Florida State, we had a dropped pass. We had a muffed punt. And you excelled at doing those things well. And we let up 14 points because you're not here to fix those mistakes anymore. We miss your leadership. We miss your flowy hair. We miss you, Slippery Fox. We miss you, Chris Fink. Sorry for taking you for granted.
I don't know how he keeps a straight face during all of that. On a more serious note, Ian Book, we miss when we could hear random girls, and sometimes even guys, screaming because they sighted you in the woodroom of the library.
Yeah, I agree.
But now online classes, that's not a possibility
I
anymore.
scream when I see Ian Book in the library. All right, so our final thing that we have taken for granted, and you know, Camera One, if you want to push in on me a little bit here, because I think this is more important. Austin Rooney, we took you for granted. Our old station manager here at NDTV, we miss your booming voice and your tall frame. I miss receiving invites to midnight runs that I would never even think about going on. I miss you randomly going bing, bing, bing for no reason at strange moments. You see how we now only have 2 spots on this show, 2 people at the desk at any time. That has nothing to do with this pandemic. That has to do with Austin Rooney. We are always leaving a seat open in case you want to come back. Austin Rooney, we miss you, and we took you for granted.